Well, I think it's certainly a big start if we get through a program of 500 billion of borrowing by the EU Commission. It's completely a new ballpark game that the EU actually does borrow money and then passes on that kind of money to those most in need through grants. I mean, so if this is really agreed, I think it would be a huge step forward towards a stronger Eurozone. Well, I think the stakes are very high and everybody knows it, and everybody tries to, of course, extract the most out of this money. And so I think yes, a compromise is eventually possible, but it's also true that these compromises are extremely difficult to achieve. Even the normal EU budget negotiations usually take until the last moment until they are agreed, just because it's so much money that we are talking about over such a long period of time. And here it will be even more difficult. But I think in the end, even the so-called frugal four countries, they know that a deal is needed, and they also know that their economies really benefit from a strong single market and an integrated, strong trading bloc that the EU is. So at the end of the day, I remain optimistic. I think there will be a compromise. It might not happen middle of June when the European Council meets, when the leaders meet, but I think it will happen during the German presidency. Well, I mean, I think what's at stake if they can't come to a compromise is that we won't have essentially an EU budget next year, and we won't have funding borrowing by the EU, and so that essentially means every country would act on its own, and that's clearly insufficient in a situation where significant funding risks are emerging, and some countries actually lose political support also for the European Union. So I think it's really about the integrity of the single market, but it's also about ultimately political support for the European integration project. And I think Germany's shift that we've seen in the last 2 weeks is really a result of the fear that the whole project European Union is at stake. And so I think it's a very remarkable and big political shift within Germany, within the Conservative Party in Germany, that really says now is the time to actually help each other. We can't just count the beans and say, look, the past sinners don't deserve our help. Now it's really time to help because the crisis is so big and the stakes are so high.